do the three major indices of an economy: unemployment, growth of GDP, or GNP, inflation, respond to the party congresses 5 years. That's a cycle. And through some of initial exploration of data, we can almost be certain that the growth rate would not fluctuate a lot. All the three leaders support high-level economic growth. Since 1978, Chinese leaders look at economic growth as a source of their legitimacy. If economic growth stops, then their political authority may be seriously challenged. So all the three leaders emphasize high growth. So we should not expect to see a huge fluctuation in economic growth among the three leaderships. Then the inflation and unemployment may be different. They may fluctuate. In the beginning years, there was a lot of uncertainty because the country just embarked upon a new direction, an untested road or trail. And because of uncertainty in the marketplace, in politics, and in policy, we could expect a high degree of inflation, a high degree of growth rates of GDP. And unemployment may rise or fall, depending on the cycle. Then for the party adjustments, we simply do not know. According to the political business cycle theory, without any priors, we should see right before the convening of the party congress, low inflation, high employment. That's what we should expect, knowing nothing else about China. So with those questions that two testable hypotheses were framed, these are very, very straightforward questions. And from the beginning, I did have the intent that some students here would want to take on the subject, extend the results, and write your dissertation. I want to emphasize Professor Ardenzo, Jim Lehman, Tom Bosch is not here, together with their political science colleagues, are the best in this country in terms of scholarship on this very, very subject. So your research can take a lot of mileage. Here, I have a story to tell. And I provide some partial answer to this story through this pair of hypotheses. But a lot of work remains in the future to be done by people who are interested in international economy or simply political economy. Okay, here we have two variables in addition to time: inflation and unemployment. In the literature, yes.
Can I ask a quick
Sure.
clarifying question?
Sure.
The unemployment figures, are those government figures?
Good question. Very good question. Excellent. The unemployment data came from the Chinese Bureau of Statistics. These are government data, and they have very strict definitions. To qualify for a statistic in the data set, the person must register with the city government as unemployed. And the person cannot receive any compensation from being laid off by a state-owned enterprise. In China, there are many people, or there have been many people, who were laid off by state-owned enterprises and received partial minimum modicum compensations, very, very small amount of money. but those people will not qualify. Even though they want to look for a job, they could not qualify as part of the data. And the data did not include the people who migrate from the countryside to the city area looking for jobs there. Those people will be excluded. And typically, the jobless rate from this data set is from 2% to 5%. And recently, I received a data set from Professor Andy Johnson, who led a research project in China covering 7 cities, looking into health-related issues. And part of their survey covered unemployment. And for the 7 cities, the unemployment rate could be as high as 27%, or could be as low as 13%. So there's a large variance between the government data and Professor Andy Johnson's data. And this is one area actually we can do a lot of work about. Try to refine the data set, try to get a better and more accurate version. And here, there's a negative correlation between unemployment and inflation. Very minor. It's about 38% negative. And the reason I pointed out this negative correlation was that probably all of you are aware of the Feng curve. The Feng curve, and economists who study inflation and unemployment for Britain for the period of time between 1861 and 1957. The paper was published in 1958 and was a major paper of the subject. And Felix was the first person who conducted a systemic analysis of the data on unemployment and inflation. And he found that when unemployment, when jobs creation is high, inflation tends to be high. And inflation will be low if employment the relationship between inflation and employment takes such an inverse curve. And actually that provides logic for the political cycle theory. But then there are other people out there who challenge this finding, point out that when people expect inflation in the future, there's a negative relationship between unemployment and inflation will be blunted. But people know what's going to happen in the future. They build their calculation on the basis of expected inflation, and that tends to remove this negative relationship between unemployment and inflation. So we have some very minor confirmation of the Phillips curve in Chinese data. Well, now we have some major economic indicators under the 3 leaders. So under them, we can see that inflation tends to be high compared with the 2 following leaderships. And economic growth is about the same among the 3 leaders. So the initial question, whether economic growth is about the same under 3 leaders, is to some degree supported. All of the 3 are in favor of a high level of economic growth. Inflation is higher in the first period, and the variance of inflation is also high in the first period. So is the variation of GDP. In some other graph, we will find the GDP level per capita went up and down under the first period alone, indicating the experimental nature of the reform in the country. And all the 3 leaders start their term with lower economic growth, lower inflation, and higher unemployment.